Hi, my name is Jeff Brown, or as some people know me, Professor Brown. Welcome to my video. We're going to answer the question as best we can. Is education a waste of time? We're going to be taking a look at high schools, colleges, and also what's happening post-college in the workforce and what employers are looking at or what they're not pleased with as far as what's coming out of colleges these days. So first and foremost, in high schools, we've got about 1/3 of all high school kids dropping out at this time. You've probably seen the LeBron James commercials where he talks about high school students dropping out every 26 seconds, basically an NBA shot clock time period. Colin Powell and his wife went around to high schools pleading with students to stay in school some years ago. None of this is working, of course. It's a much deeper seated problem, and it's also a problem that we as individuals can address and should address ourselves if we have the proper information, and that's what I'm here for. So also, if we look what's going into colleges right now, the majority, about 60%, are in a remedial situation where they don't even have the necessary skills, knowledge, and attitudes, basic reading, writing, arithmetic, and everything else. That's why more and more two-year schools or community colleges are popping up. I personally have worked at every level. I've worked at K through college. I was a substitute teacher for a couple of years, primary, secondary schools. I've also worked at community colleges. I've worked at four-year colleges, public and private. I've also worked in nonprofit organizations or schools for some time, culinary school, business school, and technical school. And these schools, colleges, and universities have systemic problems. Our schools are some of the worst in the world, and also our colleges are failing. If we look at the 14 major countries, where education occurs, we are dead last. If Derek Bach, as a matter of fact, a former president of Harvard, said that we do somewhat okay by our students, but we're still failing them considerably. Continuing with the statistics, for example, if we look at the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, about 60% of those who are graduating from college are working in jobs that don't even require a high school diploma. So if we throw in the high school diploma, we'll find about 70% of college grads working in jobs that require a high school diploma or less. This is ridiculous. Why doesn't the general public know about this? Well, some do. The information's out there, but it's not systemic or prevalent. Most people are not aware of it. And that's because college is a business. So the colleges don't want to allow this information out. It would stifle their business, of course. So what about in the workforce? What are employers seeing? The majority of employers are not satisfied with the skill sets. And we may be able to look at the unemployment statistics or the fact that about 60% of those who have graduated with college degrees 7 years later have not paid a dime on their loans. And why is this? Well, they're probably at the same earning level or potential return on investment as they were when they got a high school degree. So a lot of problems across the board. We're experiencing major issues and concerns in education across the board. So what do? Well, first and foremost, we have to understand the problem, become aware of it, and then understand what we need. I often ask my clients and students to look at the mission statement, look at their high school mission statement. What exactly was it that they were supposed to obtain through their high school degree or high school education? And if you look at it and you look at what's coming out, there's quite a mismatch. It all sounds good and fine and fanciful that we're going to acquire communication skills and logical thinking, critical thinking skills, and all these other things, so forth and so on, but so few are acquiring even a fraction of what that mission statement states that these people should obtain. Same thing in colleges. It's a mishmash. It all sounds good, and it's basically for public consumption because of the fact that high schools need to keep getting money from the state. And colleges need to keep getting their money from the state and donors and students and whomever else. So one thing to keep in mind is when you're talking about problems, you have to follow the money trail. What is the money trail? Well, in regards to money, colleges and schools are, well, if we look at schools, that's basically coming from the state. So they have to ensure that they're retaining a certain number of students and that these students are getting a certain level of grades, usually standardized tests that they work towards. And there's all inherent problems therein. But also in colleges, colleges are funded by states. State colleges are, community colleges are, even some private colleges are funded by states. But also by donors. So these colleges have to look good to the state. They have to look good to the donors. They have to do what they need to do to keep the money coming in. And that often means keeping butts in the seats and making sure that the grades stay up. So what happens there? What happens there is the fact that now you have dummied down courses and inflated grades. In the old days, maybe back 20, 30 years or so, you might see one plaque on the wall in a college. And that plaque was full of people with 4.0s, and it probably took, a year or years to fill that up. Now, we have multiple plaques on the walls every semester with 4.0s. So they're handing out grades and 4.0s like candy. So what do we do? Well, some of the things that we have to focus in on is ourself first and foremost. We have to understand who we are. We have to understand our basic skills, desires, needs, values, interests. What is our intelligence type? What is our personality type? Where do we need to be? What we work to our strengths. What are our strengths, and then work to our strengths. Get education. You don't just go to the college catalog of life. The college catalog is there for you to pick from knowingly, not just picking a curriculum or something that has been predetermined by some people who have arbitrarily put together what you need. Okay, just like government. Government, one size fits all, mandatory education. They don't know what you need. I don't know what you need. You don't know what you need. So you have to first and foremost work on it, and then we can kind of work together to find out what that is. But I will basically be asking you questions. I'm not going to tell you what you need. You're going to find out what you need through the questions I ask you. And that's the way it works. Okay. A student-focused situation. For instance, my son, he's 12 years old, my youngest, and he's in a charter college. Charter school. Charter college, maybe eventually. But he's in a charter school, and he's being asked, what are your goals for this year? What do you want to be when you grow up? He initially said that he wanted to work at 7-Eleven and then become a police officer. That's what he said. To each his own. Now then he wanted to become LeBron James, and now that has changed. I think he wants to become a wide receiver for the New York Giants. I don't know. But anyways, it doesn't matter. What you really have to do is get people thinking for themselves, thinking autonomously, making their own decisions, not allowing others to make decisions for them or dictating to them. You don't want to be dictated to. Control is not a good thing on a small or large level. Dr. Detchi, who has been around for some time, wrote a book, Why We Do What We Do, and I use this with some of my students. And he talks about the fact that control, anyone who uses control on us limits our abilities to maximize ourselves. The more we can find ourselves, what's in ourselves, and maximize what's in ourselves, the more potential we have. We're going to be smarter, we're going to be more creative, we're going to be more energized, we're going to be more enthusiastic, we're going to be more engaged, we're going to take in information, process information, retain information, recall information better. We're just going to be on fire, okay? If you're doing what others tell you to do, or you're going to extrinsic motivations or means, you're going to go where the hot jobs are, you're going to go to the STEM or the green jobs. STEM are science, technology, engineering, math. You're going to go to some job like a doctor or a lawyer or engineer because you want the prestige. You're going to a job because your parents said so, or your family does that type of work, or whatever. Any of these extraneous, external motivations, that's almost guaranteed failure. Okay, you have to go from within. It has to be intrinsic. You have to know you, and then match you to some type of education. You determine what it is. Maybe it's college, maybe it's some CDs and DVDs and some seminars and webinars. I don't know. You'll have to figure it out for yourself, and that's where the true power of this methodology comes into play. Then there's other things you have to learn. For instance, I have multiple courses in determining who you are, and then working through these 5 courses, actually, which I will have linked down below, that will help you to really get some of the skills, knowledge, attitudes, and insights that you need to maximize your potential in life and in career. And another one of them, which is essential, is critical thinking. Also 5 courses down below that you can buy, purchase. Critical thinking is really good thinking, and there's a lot more to it than you could imagine. And very few are doing it, and most employers are looking for people who are good thinkers, who are good organic thinkers, problem solvers. They understand their limitations. They're humble in that regard, courageous, willing to step forward and do what they need to do think what they need to think in order to problem solve outside of the box, as they say, or doing that which is different. There's a guy by the name who came out in the 60s, Earl Nightingale, who said that the world's greatest secret is the fact that we just follow people. We are the followers following the followed, who's following the followed, and so forth and so on. And he talks about the fact that 90%, 95% of people will live an unfulfilled life because they're not really doing any self-examining. Okay, so this is the things that we really need to do. Anyways, that's basically the gist of it. If you have any questions, you can message me down below. I've got tons of links and courses and things down below. Message me if you have any questions, or if you want some additional insight and understanding into what all this stuff is, which is very complex and problematic, especially in today's world. Thanks very much, and we'll talk to you later. Take care.